Okay, our last recording froze up because I had to go to the file system to restart Eclipse, and when I do that, occasionally the Screencast-O-Matic will its microphone, and so I had to just I had to restart this recording to get the microphone back. So all I've done is I restarted Eclipse and I did Control-Shift-O to organize imports. Now you see, let me put some comments in here. Create an intent to invoke a camera or an image capture device. Doesn't necessarily need to be a camera. Okay. Find the URI where we store pictures. And one last thing, which is really just a copy and paste thing. We see that this is returning a data object, which is a URI. That's what we're expecting here in our extra. I was converting it from a file, but that's because I copy and pasted it from somewhere else. I'm just going to put the URI directly in there, and then we're good. Here's something very interesting. This URI is actually optional. We don't have to tell the camera to save a picture anywhere. If we don't, it will return an image to us in the on activity result. So we can get the image just out of a variable, or we can actually have it store a picture somewhere. What I'm doing by passing this data in is I'm telling the camera, tell the camera where to store the image. Okay, and then finally, start the camera activity. My left hand is just slightly faster than my right hand when it comes to typing. Start activity. Okay, and then camera intent and save. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and deploy this in the debugger. And we're going to see if we can get the camera emulator to start up. That might take just a moment because since I had to restart Eclipse, I also had to restart my emulator. So let me go ahead and start, and I'll probably pause this recording because it might take just a few minutes for that to come up. So when I unpause it, we have debug Android application. We should have our app up and ready to deploy. Okay, and with the magic of recording, you didn't notice that lag in time, even though I did. The application came right up. So I'm going to choose this button here, and with any luck, that should be wired up. And here's our camera. So this is the camera emulator. It's a bit tricky to get the actual webcam to fire. And also the camera emulator doesn't work very well, to be honest with you. It crashes quite a bit in the emulator. This is one thing that's better to test on an actual Android device instead of using the emulator. Let me see if I can get it to render again. Oftentimes if I click and then I quickly tell it to take a picture. Oh, come on, take a picture. A little bit tricky here. Oh, okay. Well, didn't like that. In any case, that's fairly frequent. I hate to admit it, but it is fairly frequent that it's tricky to get the camera to invoke. But nonetheless, you did see that the camera invoked. Um, I might see if I can get that to run one more time so we can at least save a picture. All right. Let's just see if we can save a picture. Don't know which one of these is us, unfortunately. Anyway, see if we can save a picture to the SD card. So let me give that one try, and we'll see how that works. Okay, once again, the magic of recordings. I'm able to bring things up that take some time without you noticing. So what I've done is I've switched from our original debugger, which is an old school Android 2.2 device. I switched to this guy, which is a what was before KitKat, JK Jelly Bean, I guess. Yeah, Jelly Bean device. So this is it's either a 4.3 or 4.4 device, but you see a little difference in the way the buttons are constructed and the look and feel and things like that. So this device, I have a little better luck with the emulator. So I'm going to go ahead and hit our button that should render the camera, and here's the camera emulator. And what I'm going to do is, you see, it just does this goofy square on a checkerboard thing. I'm going to go ahead and click this button here, which tells it to take a picture. Okay. picture. Then check says, okay, the picture's good. Now what it should do is it should return me back to the calling action. If I did everything right, it should take me back to the calling action. And if we have any luck, it should take that goofy image that we saw and it should display it. It should save it in the DDMS to SD card pictures. So let's take a look. So I believe it's actually SBIN, or is it? I'm sorry, MNT. That's it, MNT. Oh, you know what? I might not have, well, shoot. Yep, no, I might not have the proper directory set up. Just one second. Let me see if I can find the pictures directory on here. Or am I still in the wrong? Okay, I think we're good there. Nothing there. Data? Okay, that's not what I wanted. Okay. And honestly, I have a bit of a, many times have a bit of a trick finding the correct directory here because it seems that it's linked several places. So maybe today's not my lucky day. MNT SD card, and I can't get in there. Secure, nothing there. Well, it looks like I'm not going to have any luck finding this picture, but nonetheless, you see we were able to we were able to capture a picture by triggering the activity for that by just saying, hey, I want an activity that will capture a picture. So, yeah, it looks like I'm not going to be able to find just yet, at least. Looks like I'm not going to have any luck finding that picture on here. But what I might have to do is in the emulator, I can tell it how big the SD card should be. And I have a feeling that's what's missing, is it doesn't know how big the SD card should be. So, okay, no worries. We'll capture that later. Okay. Okay, so that is the camera. The other one that's handy I mentioned is the Image Explorer, which only really works if you do have pictures on the device. So I'm going to look in, see if I can fix that, see if I can get some pictures on the device, and then we'll take a look at the file viewer. Well, good news is I found out where the pictures are. They're under Storage, SD card, and then Pictures, Redbud, SDK Manager, a couple pictures I have there. I don't think there's anything on camera. Okay, we have the Redbud there. My AVD is still locked up, unfortunately. There's something locking that up, which, as I say, with the camera, that can be a bit tricky from time to time. So, okay, let's keep going. What I'm going to do, I'm going to run back to Eclipse, and I'm going to go to our layout. And first of all, I really want to change that button to have a more descriptive, uh, maybe a more descriptive name. So I'm going to go to our FS13 1046 plan places, go to Res, and then go to Layout, and then I'm going to select. Tell you what, let's do advanced search because one of the things that I do on search is the search by color. So I'm going to click on advanced search and let's make a button on here that says select a photo. Okay, give that a second to render. Okay, Control M. Okay, so we have a search button. So what I will do now is I'll add another button, maybe below text view one. Let's see if I can add one in there, if it will figure that out. It's going to overlap them. Okay, so I'll just drop that there. Right click edit text, and we'll say new string, and we'll say, we'll call it select image. String will be select an image. That'll be fine. Choose OK. And OK again. And an image. I'll go ahead and stretch this out, make it take up the entire width. Right click, and I'm going to choose properties, and I'm going to choose all by name, and then finally we'll choose on click. And slowly but surely there's on click. So let's make this on select an image, copy, and OK. I'm going to save this layout, and now I'm going to run back to the, okay, we will disconnect. Let's see. Now I'm going to go back to the plant search activity, which is the activity class that matches up to this layout. I'll make the method signature public void paste view v. And of course, for a method, we know we need open curly and close curly. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run back and see what I need to do an image gallery. For an image gallery, I call an intent. I tell it what path I want, the picture data, and then I tell it to filter by that image type. So I'll just go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to paste, and there we go. So we're saying that we want an action that will pick something. We're giving it some data, which is the directory where we store pictures, and then we're telling it that we want the directory where we store pictures, and we only want files of type image. Finally, we'll say start activity for result, photo picker intent. That's it. A lot of this is just normal old copy paste. Control-Shift-O, organize imports. Okay, photo picker intent, we know that when we start an activity for a result, we also need to give it some constant value. Could be any number. I'll call this one 1, and then I'll control 1, and I'll say extract to constant. Okay, and we will call this select underscore image. The numbers are relevant. We really just want to give it some unique number, and in this case, I'm associating that number with a variable called select image. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to decide what to do with that image. So I'll make an on activity result. There we go. Okay, so this method will be called when we're finished with that gallery view. So what I'll do here is I'll say if result code equal result underscore OK, which means everything went well, open curly, close curly, if request code equal select image, whoops, sorry, which means that we're receiving this result from select image. And then we can do something to display the image. Or alternatively, we can just find out where the image is stored. So notice that we get 3 parameters. A request code. Request code tells us if everything went okay. Request code tells us what action is returning data to us. A result code, that tells us if everything went okay. And then data. Data contains any data that this activity returns. So if I say data.getData, okay, that's going to return to me a URI. I'll assign a new local variable, okay, and I'll call that, let's see, I'll call that picture path. Okay, and then I'll raise a toast that shows the path where this picture is stored. So toast.makeText, this comma, okay, picture path, toast.lengthlong.show. So I'm just going to pop up a message that shows the path of this picture that was selected. That's all I'm going to do. We could, of course, do a lot more than that. Now, why doesn't it like make text? Oh, you know why? Because I'm in plant search activity. URI. Okay, that's fine. Picture path.toString. Okay, that's better. I'm just going to pop up a message that shows where this is saved. Now, once we have a saved image, we can do things like open that image, translate it from a file path to the contents of the file, and then from the contents of the file to a bitmap image, and then we can display the image. There are lots of things that we can do. We can capture that in a different recording if anybody's interested. For this one, I just want to show that we can select an image and then we can see that image path. So I'm going to save. I have a bad feeling. Yep, unfortunately my emulator is still locked up. So let me close the emulator and we will launch this again. Okay, the emulator's back up. So I'm going to go to find specimen. Of course, that'll take just a moment as it jumps with an explicit intent. Oh, I forgot I have the debugger on. So I have a couple breakpoints set. I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and play through those. Oh, another breakpoint. Okay. So it's creating the plant search activity. Okay. Now we have our select an image button. I'm going to click that. And what it's going to do is it's going to show me a gallery view of all the images on my SD card. I'll select one of these. It's going to return to, with any luck, it will return to, there we go. Boop. It came up quickly, but what it did is it returned us to our search activity and it showed us the path of that image. Now, as I mentioned, what we can do once we have the path is we can actually open that path, that file path as a stream, and then we can display that image. So a few more lines required for that, a little bit beyond the scope of this lecture, which I want to focus on intents. But if that is of interest, let me know. I can pick that up in another lecture and we can talk about how we open it and then we save it into a UI form. So that's all for this part. This is part 2 of intent filters. And again, the focus here is looking at how we can glue different things together that already exist to make a really good application while minimizing the amount of code that we write. So again, thanks for your attention and we'll catch you on the next lecture. Thank you.